Hello and welcome to the Farming Today podcast with me, Charlotte Smith. In this episode, calls for more support for the UK's rare breeds and sprouts.
Yes, I do like sprouts myself. The whole family's not keen, but I certainly am.
So there are people working on the sprout farm who don't like sprouts?
Yes.
Wise people. More on sprouts later. Let's start though with a new project in Northern Ireland, which is using vets to help farmers look after their health. The Nip It in the Bud campaign was launched at a veterinary conference. The BBC's Northern Ireland reporter Elaine Mitchell has been finding out more.
Farming can be an isolated job, but where there's a farmer, there's usually a vet.
Hello, Barry, how are you? How's it going?
And now that relationship is being utilised to try and improve farmers' health.
So my name is Barry O'Boyle. I'm a dairy farmer from County Antrim, Randolphstown.
Do you look after your health, Barry?
I would say it's not a top priority. I suppose most farmers don't, they're happy to talk about the animals' health more. I think a lot of farmers don't really want to take up doctors' time. They feel it's maybe not important enough.
For farmers as well, I think the real issue that's come to light is that by the time they do go in and get checked, things have progressed. For something like cancer, getting an early diagnosis can make the difference between life or death.
Like most families, cancer has affected many people. It happened here as well. Would it have made any difference going earlier? It's hard to know because it was an aggressive form of cancer, which my father had, but who knows, possibly if symptoms had been caught earlier, it might have helped a small bit at least.
The Nip It in the Bud campaign is a collaboration between the Farming Community Network and Macmillan Cancer Support with the backing of the veterinary profession.
I'm Melanie Span. I'm a veterinary surgeon from Glenshane Veterinary Clinics, and I'm here on farm looking at cattle, wee calves that are in Wales.
And now, on top of your workload, they're adding human health also.
Yes, you always have conversations with the farmers. There's always health concerns that come up. You're often on the same farms, so whenever you're there, that conversation is very easy for them to have with you, because they always think, well, you're a vet, you know some medical things, so let's ask you before we do anything else. And I always have to say, go back to the doctors, nip it in the bud and get to the doctors.
And Katrina Crawford from the Farming Community Network says farmers do prioritise the farm even after a cancer diagnosis.
When I worked in the North West Cancer Centre in Altnagalvin Hospital, we have a huge rural remit. I would have seen quite a lot of farming patients, and definitely you would have seen a lot later presentation of disease, unfortunately. Even examples, while on treatment, our farming patients, still their number one priority was their farm. We would have patients delaying radiotherapy because, they didn't have the hands at home to help the lambing, so they could have delayed their radiotherapy until they had their lambing done. We can't really change that, but what we can do is build that support around it and really build the awareness that early detection is so important.
At the Macmillan Centre at the Ulster Hospital, Sarah Christie is sorting through leaflets and flyers designed to inform about cancer and support services. And now there's a new leaflet which vets will carry to share with farmers.
The earlier you get seen to, the better outcomes you'll have in the long term.
That report from Elaine Mitchell. Now, an item about sprouts, and I'm going to read the cue that the reporter Richard Baines has written. Many people, he says, will be delighted to hear that in Scotland the sprout harvest is in full swing, with hundreds of tonnes being cut for Christmas. Of course, that odd lot, the sprout haters, will be less interested. Richard, if I had my way, we would simply ban them. But, asks Richard, has it been a good sprout year? Are the growers happy? He went to the sprout harvest on one Scottish farm to find out.
In a field of about 15 acres of sprouts on the east coast of Scotland, what's going on here is hand harvesting of sprout stalks for the supermarkets, and there's a team of about 10 people chopping sprouts, sorting them, packing them into boxes and loading them onto the tractor.
I'm Murray MacDonald from MacDonald Agri. This particular crop is grown for predominantly Christmas market, only required for 3-4 weeks of the season, just to provide something different with a good long shelf life on it compared with standard sprouts. When we started planting in March, it was nice dry conditions. We then went into the driest late spring, early summer we've ever had the statistics say since 1975. This side of Scotland, and particularly this area, is notoriously dry, but it has huge resources for irrigation when needed. And that certainly played a major part in this year's crops. We've probably ended up with 15% higher yields than normal. And certainly on Brussels sprouts, we've seen that, although high yields doesn't necessarily mean better returns. There's not many people eat an extra 15% of Brussels sprouts.
Do you like sprouts yourself?
Yes, I do like sprouts myself. The whole family's not keen, but I certainly am.
Right, so there are people working on the sprout farm who don't like sprouts?
Yes. McDonald Agri is a family business. We grow strawberries, broccoli, cauliflower, Brussels sprouts, parsnips, potatoes, flax and spinach for seed production. We're almost market gardening on a big scale. We're very unusual, certainly in this area, with the amount of crops we try to grow.
Sourcing staff on a farm these days, especially seasonal workers, is tricky. Tell me how you source your staff.
They are a mixture of the Harvest Workers Scheme on a 6-monthly contract, and some who have been Romanians who have been here with us for 10 years. It's getting harder and harder to get staff who are willing to do this type of work.
What's your name?
Milas Khan Aliyev.
Where are you from?
Kazakhstan. I make a cutting and I checking good quality. This is my 4th years. Very good farm, very good bosses.
Nice.
Everybody likes work here.
My name is Manuela Chapkanova.
And where are you from, Manuela?
Bulgaria. I like this farm, it's good job. I work here 5 years.
My name is Ishbaev Talay. I am from Kyrgyzstan. Broccoli, sprouts, cauliflower, strawberry and blueberry. Very good, yes.
They seem a pretty good-natured bunch.
Yes, they are. Myself and my brother work directly with them. We don't have lots of supervisors. If there's a problem, it's one of us to speak to. So they like that direct contact.
And do you do a bit of sprout cutting yourself?
I have been known to, in the last week, help to try and get the numbers done and keep morale up on a cold day.
Murray MacDonald there. The governments of the UK need to do more to support native farm animal breeds. That's the view of the Rare Breed Survival Trust, which says that while there have been many warm words about the importance of rare and native breeds, clarification's needed on what the post-Brexit schemes will offer, and the trust says funding should be given to the National Gene Bank. This week we're looking at rare and native breeds, and the good news is that many are doing better. But some long-wool sheep, Tamworth pigs and Exmoor ponies are amongst those on the Trust's priority list, meaning they're the most endangered. Christopher Price is Chief Executive of the RBST.
All of the 4 home countries have made commitments towards supporting native breeds under the post-Brexit schemes, but the only ones we've seen come to fruition are in England. However, even those are now up for grabs, as you'll know, because of the ongoing uncertainty over elm.
Why do the native breeds need more support? Because surely, since your charity was set up, there's been a lot of work to protect their future.
You're quite right. And there are many farmers who are making something of them. And every year we produce the annual watch list showing the conservation status of all of our native breeds. And there is some good news coming from them. But that, sadly, isn't true in the case of every breed. And so if government can invest in supporting those breeds which are in particular need until we can restore their fortunes on a more commercial basis, if at all, it would all be for the good. After all, we recognise the need to conserve wild animals. It's hard to see why there shouldn't be a similar desire to conserve kept animals where there is a need to do so.
And how does the gene bank fit into all this?
For those breeds which are particularly struggling, and indeed to preserve a safety net in the event of extinction, and there are many of us that remember how awful it was during foot and mouth disease, the gene bank is there to provide a reserve of primarily semen but also embryos that could be used to recreate the breeds should the need arise. If you look at UN guidance on gene banking, because this is a global thing, it's not just a UK thing, there's a presumption that this will be done by governments, either governments running gene banks themselves or funding others to go and do so. And I have yet to go and find any country in the developed world where that isn't the case, apart from the UK. UK governments support plenty of plant gene banks. You'll be aware of the seed bank, etc. but there is nothing equivalent for livestock genetics. It's left to our small charity, RBST, to go and do all that.
Although that is working. So I guess the government might think, well, why would we interfere?
We are a small charity. It's incredibly expensive to run. Other gene banks are supported by government. I must say there has been a recognition of late that the government does have a greater role in this area, but we're not there yet. Generally
speaking, how do you see the next few years for farmers who want to try and adopt more rare and native breeds?
Post-Brexit, as farmers are going to find it harder to trade on global commodity markets, it'll be more important to develop local, possibly niche brands. And native breed farming does lend itself to that. In many cases, they can live outdoors in virtually nothing. They don't need a huge amount of supplementary feed. They don't run up massive vet and med bills. They don't need lots of housing. So the input costs are fairly low. If you can create a brand about the generally higher welfare, the generally lower environmental footprint, and often the strong sense of place and wonderful stories that go with many of the breeds, you can create a brand around it. And that, I think, is why we see so many people coming into farming as new entrants who start off by just looking at the numbers, coming to the view that native breeds are the way forward, the way in which you can run a successful, sustainable livestock business.
Christopher Price from the Rare Breed Survival Trust. And that's it from us. I'm Charlotte Smith. The producer is Beatrice Fenton. Farming Today is a BBC Audio Bristol production.